Hey everybody, how's it going? Today, I'm going to do a quick video. No playing, no plugging in, because these all have different pickup configurations in them. The purpose of this is not to compare these guitars from a how they sound standpoint so much as this video is geared at the hobbyist, the new player, the person possibly buying their first guitar, and what the differences are amongst the various lines at Squier, what you get for your money, and if it's worth buying one model versus the other. That's it. So, three models we're looking at today. This is the entry-level model that has replaced the Squier Bullet. This is the where all the guitars start at the Squier line, lowest entry point. Squier Sonic. Then I have with me a Squier Affinity, which is in the middle from a price point standpoint. And then finally at the high end, we have the 40th anniversary edition series, which is comparable to a classic Vibe in terms of appointments, and it's a little bit more money, but they're right around the same price. High end of the Squiers. So, these guitars are all a little bit different, as you can see. So this guy is a Strat style guitar, but it has an HSS configuration, meaning it has a humbucker in the bridge and two single coils. This guy here, this Strat style guitar, is a conventional Strat style guitar with three single coil pickups. And then we have a Telecaster over here that has obviously two single coils, and they're different pickups. But let's just talk about what you get for your money, which is the main intention of this video. Okay? So first off, let's look at the three guitars and compare them head-on from a wood standpoint or a body standpoint. So they're all the same, pretty much, with the exception of this guy. Well, he's a little different, but it's really not that much. So let's look at it. This is a poplar body. Okay? It's an entry-level wood used in budget guitars. Poplar, Paulownia you'll hear of basswood. They're all inexpensive woods that are used typically in budget guitars. So this is poplar. This Affinity series, whether you get the Tele style guitar, which I have here, or they also have a Strat in this line as well, same thing, poplar bodies. So you're getting the same wood. From a wood standpoint in this guy, when you move up the line, which is the either the classic Vibe or the 40th anniversary model, it comes with Nyoto. Some call it NATO, which is it's almost like a mahogany, an Asian mahogany type wood. Is it better? No, I don't believe so. Not even sure if you can tell the difference between alder and some of the top-notch woods from a tone standpoint. That's a long debate of whether woods are perceptible in sound quality on electric guitars. They might be. It's a good debate. But in any event, this guitar from a weight standpoint is heavier than this. So this wood, this Nyoto wood body is heavier than the poplar. Okay, so if you're just starting out or if you're a smaller bodied person, a student, whatever, you might want this guy simply because it's a little easier to hold if you're of a slighter stature. I would say this guy weighs maybe 8 pounds, a little bit north of that. This is probably about 3 pounds, 2 pounds heavier. That's my guess. So that's the wood. Now, from a fretboard standpoint, as you can see, this is a maple fretboard, right, on this guitar. This has a different fretboard on different model color. So some of the single coils, I believe, also come, you have an option for a laurel fretboard or the maple fretboard. On this particular guitar, you can see it's a Indian laurel fretboard. And on this guy, which is the higher end guitar, you also have an Indian laurel fretboard. So far, right, in this analysis, from a body wood standpoint and from a fretboard wood standpoint, I don't see really any advantage between the lowest cost model and the highest cost model. Okay? Radius is 9.5 inches on all these guitars on the neck. 9.5 inches across the board. frets, they vary a bit. So these are what are described as narrow, tall frets on the Squier Sonic Strat style guitar. And there are 21 of them. On this particular guitar, Tele, you also have 21 frets, and they are described as medium jumbo. And the frets are slightly bigger than on this guitar, so I would agree with the medium jumbo frets on the Affinity. So that might be an advantage or a disadvantage depending upon your preference. On this particular guitar, they're also described as narrow, tall frets. So both the Sonic and the 40th anniversary Classic Vibe have narrow, tall frets, whereas the Affinity has medium jumbo. The back of the neck, which is important from a playability standpoint and feel standpoint. This Sonic guitar does not have a glossed finish. It is a satin urethane finish on the back of the neck, as is the back of the neck on this particular guitar, which is the Tele, the Affinity series, Tele and Strat, satin finish neck. Okay, so the Bullet, or boy oh boy, what a Freudian slip. The Sonic and the Affinity both have satin finish necks and similar feeling necks. I would say, because I've had an Affinity Strat as well, the Affinity Strat neck is slightly thinner than the neck on this Sonic. This Sonic has a bit more girthier neck. It's not a fat neck by any stretch, but it has a little bit more fullness than the Affinity neck, and also the old Bullets, in my opinion. So if you like that, if you like a little bit more of a chunk to the neck, you might like the Sonic feel. If you don't, you may not like it. The neck is definitely thinner on this particular guitar than on the Sonic, and it is a gloss, has a gloss urethane finish to it. So if you don't like a gloss finish on the back of the neck, you might not like this anniversary edition guitar, because it does have a glossed neck. What else do we have to talk about? The shape is C-shape across the board. Again, from a thickness standpoint, I think out of the bunch, this has the thickest neck, which is the Sonic series, then followed by this Affinity, and then followed by the Classic Vibe 40th anniversary having a thinner feeling neck. The nut width is the same on all these guitars, so it's 1.65 inches is the nut on the guitar, 42 millimeters on all of them, I should say. The Sonic, the Affinity, as well as the 40th anniversary edition. The difference in the nut, and again, an advantage for the higher end guitar, is that this is a synthetic nut or a plastic nut on this Sonic series as well as this Affinity series. And then when you go to step up to the 40th anniversary, you now have a proper bone nut. So for those of you that are interested in having a bone nut, you might find that a big advantage for this particular guitar. What else? Where the guitar was made also, okay? So this guy was made in Indonesia, the Indonesia factory for Squier. This Affinity series, at least the one I have, this Tele, was made in China. And this 40th anniversary series guitar was made in Indonesia. So the 40th anniversary and the Sonic, Indonesia, the Affinity, China. This is a 2022 build on this guitar. This guy, this 40th anniversary, is also a 2022 build. And this Sonic, which is the newest series, rebranding at Squier, is a 2023 build. Pickups, another key point on the guitar. These are low-end ceramic pickups. You have a ceramic humbucker at the bridge. You have two single-coil ceramic pickups. On this particular guitar, which is the step up from the Sonic, which is the Affinity, you have two ceramic single-coil pickups. So I would give no advantage on this guy than this guy in terms of pickups. They're both inexpensive ceramic pickups. When you get to step up to the 40th anniversary or classic vibe, you're getting Alnico pickups. So you're getting better pickups in these guitars. Significantly better pickups. 6 saddle bridge on this guy. 6 saddle bridge on this guy. The bridges are inexpensive pot metal bridges. They're very comparable on both the Sonic series as well as the Affinity series. I don't see any significant advantage in this guitar versus this guitar from a bridge standpoint. When you get to, again, this guy, which is the 40th anniversary, the bridge is made better. It is stamped Squier on the saddles, and it is a heavier duty tremolo spring and bridge in this guitar. The switches on the guitar, the general pots, right, and switches on the guitar. Cheaper feeling, obviously, on this Sonic series than once you step up. It's a much smoother moving, better feeling switch, 5-way on this guitar, as well as the pots on the 40th anniversary. You're going to have more variance in volume. It's not just going loud to low than you would on this guy. So you're definitely getting better materials used in the pots and the switches on this guitar, which would make sense for the price difference. Pickguard, inexpensive single-ply pickguard on the Sonic. You have a 3-ply pickguard when you go to the Affinity, so you're getting a slightly better pickguard if that's of any interest or concern, or it doesn't make any difference to me. Here you have an anodized pickguard, which is a whole nother beast, more expensive, but some may not like the look or the feel for that matter. So whether that's an advantage, it's a personal choice. Where you do get the main advantage for, and let me talk about the price, so on all these 3 guitars. And I'm going just by MSRP, not by street price. So the manufactured suggested retail price from Fender Squier on the Sonic is $199.99 for this line. When you go to the Affinity series of guitars, you now pay $50 to $100 more. So the standard basic Affinity Strats without the flame maple tops are $249.99. So you're paying $50 more than the Sonic series. When you get to the flame maple top Strats in this particular configuration, the Strat configuration, it goes to $299.99. So there's a $100 difference now for the flame maple. What are the main advantages? I mean, the only reason I bought this guitar versus a Bullet, quite frankly, which is basically the same guitar, is because this, you can see here, has a belly carve. Right? It has a belly carve, which was important to me because I've got a gut, and I like the comfort of playing with a belly carve. So that's really the major difference on the guitar line. All right, it also has a string-through body. I think some of the older Bullets were made before they became the Sonics with a top loader. 3-saddle, which I don't like. I like the 6-saddle string-through configuration. So those were the major advantages of me going to this Affinity. Other than that, it's not, quite frankly, in my opinion at least, not worth the additional $50. I would just, if you're just starting out and belly carve doesn't matter to you, I would just go with and save the $50 and go with a Sonic series Tele versus that. What else? The only other major difference on this guitar is it has a gloss headstock as opposed to a matte headstock on the Sonic series, and you have the gold logo for Squier on this guitar, which you do not have on the Sonic. As you can see, it's got the fancier Squier, almost Fender-esque logo styling of the lettering with gold coloring. If you go with the Sonic series, you're going to get something like this, whether it's a Tele or a Strat, just the black Squier logo. These are little details, cosmetic details. When you get to this guy, which is the, well, let me put this down for a second without smashing these things. When you get to step up to this series of guitar, which again is the 40th anniversary series, the main differences, gold hardware, right? You're getting gold hardware on this guitar. Some hate it. You're also getting better tuners. You're getting these Cluson-like tuners on the back of the guitar, the vintage style tuners, whatever you want to call them, with the rounded tuner heads on the tuner controls on the guitar, right? You're also getting block inlays, right? They stepped it up to make it more of a unique look. Some hate that as well because they feel they should be on Gibsons, not on Fenders or Squiers. But others like it because it's different on this particular model. But the main advantage to me is that it is a bound neck, right? If you could see it or not, but it is a bound neck. And that makes for very, very smooth fret ends. So there are no sharp fret ends on here. It almost is, it's perfect from a fret standpoint. That's an advantage. Bone nut is an advantage, right? It costs more money to put gloss on the neck and the front, which, again, some hate. Now, on the front of the guitar, it's not so much gloss. Like the classic vibes clearly have a gloss finish across the fretboard. This is more of a normal fretboard feel, and the gloss is mostly on the back of the neck, but some hate that as well. They think it's plasticky or it sticks when you're sweating. So that might not be an advantage, but it certainly costs more. The block inlays are an added feature, probably add to the cost. The bridge is better. Tuners are better. Pots are better. And the 5-way switch is better. So, from a component standpoint, they're probably using better guts in this guitar, and that's going to add a little bit to the price. Also, the fact that it's got this anodized pickguard, that might add a little bit more. But is this worth $200 to $250 more than this, which is the Sonic that I just went through with you? If you're a beginner, a student just starting out, I would say no. The main thing you want is playability. This is perfectly fine. It does not have the same feel on the fret ends. You might need a little bit of work depending upon where you live and what condition the guitar ships in. These frets that shipped to me were fine. They weren't really sharp, so I didn't find that to be an issue. But, that's the only negative, really. Other than that, it's a perfectly functional Stratocaster-style guitar. So if you're just starting out, learning, taking lessons, whatever, I would not spend $200 to step up to this guy unless you're an intermediate player that plays out, that dabbles in recording, that just needs a better instrument, because it clearly is a better quality instrument. And you're going to get more of a vintage sound, if that's what you're going for, more of a cleaner sound with this guy, because they are Alnico pickups, lower output pickups, than you are with these ceramic pickups in this guitar. You might get, if you're going for more of a rockier, heavier sound, you might like this guy more. Depends. It's all a personal choice, right? Also, these tend to come in more vibrant colors. As you can see, this guy is Tahitian coral, and it's in your face. This is metallic ruby red, which is a little bit more muted. So again, it's all depending upon what you're going for. But I would say this much to end this thing and to sum it up, right? If you're a beginner, you're just starting out, I would go with the least expensive guitar here. Because if you are looking ultimately to play out, right, to maybe record, whatever the case is, you're probably going to want to buy a Fender, a Gibson, maybe, that step up anyway. If you're at the budget guitar end, this would be more, you would buy this more because of the look of the guitar, because quite frankly, you might be embarrassed to say you have the lowest end of the Squier line. And there's been a lot of reviews out there on YouTube, a lot of reviews in forums where they claim that Classic Vibes and these guys are just as good as a made in Mexico Strat from Fender. And they very well might be. So, bragging rights, you may want this guy versus the lowest of lows. But again, if you don't care and you're just trying to save money and you're on a restricted budget and you're just, like me, a hobbyist, just playing for your own home enjoyment and just learning, this guy's fine. And you're going to save, $200 to $300 versus this guitar by going with the Sonic. If you, again, want certain features and functions. Maybe you like the glossed headstock. Maybe you want that belly carve. Maybe you want other, similarly, you have a couple of extra bucks, shekels laying around that you can afford to spend to step up. Then you might want to go with the Affinity. And again, finally, if you're playing out, you're recording, whatever the case is, but don't have the money for that Gibson or Fender or Made in Mexico, whatever the case is, and you can find one of these as a deal, like I did. I find these they're starting to sell these now for $2.99, which is not a bad deal. And if you can get an open box somewhere, it might be even less. You might get them for $250 or whatever. Hey, now you're in this price territory, and you're getting a better guitar. That's my assessment, and I'm sticking to it. So, all three guitars, the Sonic, entry point, starting point, middle of the road, Affinity, and higher end. Well, here's the Sonic. I was pointing to the wrong guitar, right? Sonic, low end, starting out. Middle of the road, which is the Affinity series, and the highest end, which is the 40th anniversary or classic vibe, if you get that style guitar, Squier. All three guitars, decent quality, budget guitars to fit different needs. If you like these videos and find them useful or helpful, please subscribe. Any questions on any of these guitars, put them below in the comments. If you have personal experience with these things and want to share your thoughts, disagree on anything I said, or agree or whatever, put them in the comments. And as always, guys, until the next time, be well and stay safe. Take care.